Welcome back. So green continues to be the color. Lots of individual stocks in focus. The next company on our radar is actually Titagarh Wagon. The company's got big capex plans, and the outlook for FY26 is just about coming in place. So let's get that conversation going. The company has given long-term EBITDA margin targets of about 13 to 15%. But what about a pickup in execution? Let's discuss this with Pritish Chowdhary, Deputy Managing Director at Titagarh Rail Systems. Mr. Chowdhary, thank you very much for joining in. So, let's actually start there. In Q4, has there been some sort of a pickup in execution? Because while you've had, of course, big plans on the capex side, on the order book side, what about the revenue accretion? I mean, how has it been in the fourth quarter as now you're coming up to end the year?
Sure. So the Q4 has been comparatively compared to a Q3 in terms of the wagon execution better. So as you may be aware, in Q3 there were some issues with the availability of wheel sets, which the entire industry faced, all the wagon manufacturers faced. In Q4, that situation has resolved to some extent, not fully, but it has resolved to some extent, and the production numbers have improved as compared to Q3. But we are still not at that level, that stable run rate level of 1,000 wagons per month, which we intend or which we expect that by Q1, the situation should be normalized.
So Q1, maybe you get back to full normalcy. Right now, it's only partially resolved, which means what? I mean, when you talk about your wagon segment, and let's kind of break this down. Let's talk about, of course, passenger wagons, and also give us an update on the freight segment as well. Will it be sort of a flat end to the year then?
So it would not be flat if you compare it on a year-on-year basis. Compared to the last quarter, the numbers would maybe be even a little higher as far as wagon production is concerned. But as I said, the wheel set issue that prevailed in Q3 did not get entirely resolved in Q4. So a little bit of an impact on account of that is still visible, which will get resolved by Q1. As far as the passenger division is concerned, the availability or the non-availability of wheel sets doesn't really make a difference there because that's not a constraint. On the passenger side, the Ahmedabad Metro and the Surat Metro, as well as the Vande Bharat, are actually in their design phase at the moment. And in the coming financial year, all of those three projects will actually go into execution.
Pritish, hi, good morning. Prashant here. Just to take a point, there was an article 2 days back about this wheel sets issue saying that we are going back to importing wheel sets from China. What's the basic issue? I mean, is it just sort of ramping up capacity here and we're kind of bridging the gap with these imports now? Or what is the gap really?
So the gap was that in the rail wheel factory in Bangalore, they were having some production constraints, the exact details of which are not known to me. But there were some production constraints because of which the levels at which they were aiming to produce at, those levels were not being met. And therefore, there has been a little order placed on China. But as far as the private wagon industry is concerned, the wheel sets were being imported from China and they still are being imported from China. Not just in the case of Titagarh, but in the case of all wagon manufacturers. This import we intend to stop only next year once the wheel factory that we're setting up in a JV with RK Forgings, once that's active by Feb or March of 2026, we expect that the import of wheel sets from China, for whether it's for the private wagons or for whatever else, would stop.
All right. Well, hi, Pritesh. Good to have you on the show. Could you give us a couple of numbers, though, in terms of wagons? I think you were aiming for around 12,000, right? So by when do you get to that mark? And for the coming year, what kind of a number should we be looking at?
Sure. So as far as the capacity is concerned and the manpower availability and the entire infrastructure is concerned, we're already ready and geared to produce at 1,000 wagons per month. It's just a few external factors like the ones we've just been talking about, because of which we haven't been able to breach those levels consistently. As far as this year goes, since we're very close to the end of the year, I will refrain from giving any sort of numbers. But as far as the next year is concerned, we expect to be the standard run rate of 11 to 12,000 wagons.
All right, and you had guided that margins will perk up from here as well. 13 to 15% was the range you were talking about. We see that in FY26?
So the 13 to 15% range is actually on account of the PRS that will be achieved in a few years from now. For the FRS business, for the freight wagon business, an EBITDA level of between 12 to 13% is what we've been guiding, and that is what we'll achieve.
All right, Pritish, in terms of, so for now, I'm assuming in terms of fresh tenders, etc., being put together by the railways, I mean, should we see anything? What should we expect this year, this calendar year?
So, in fact, just this morning, there were some news articles which said that in the next financial, actually, the railway capex is likely to increase by almost 15 to 20%. Now, again, these are media reports, so the veracity of those is yet to be confirmed. But the plans of the railways are very, very clear, the long-term plans of the railways. And in an industry like ours, in a business like ours, we do not expect that every month they'll be ordering or every quarter they'll be ordering. As of now, as far as Titagarh is concerned, our order backlog does see us through the entire next financial year as far as wagons is concerned. As far as Vande Bharat is concerned, it's for the next few financial years, actually. So we expect that before the current orders actually come to a close or start coming to a close, there will be further tenders floated from the railways. On the metro side, however, the story is a little different. On the metro side, since that does not directly fall under the Ministry of Railways, there are new tenders, new lines being announced, new projects being announced almost on a weekly or a fortnightly basis. So the metro market is really booming.
Absolutely. I was just coming to that, Pritesh, because if I look at the Q3 numbers, then the dispatch of metro coaches, and I understand these are lumpy businesses. I mean, this is not like, steady billing. It's not an IT services business. But I think it was only 3, the dispatch over there. So, an overall passenger rail revenue, if I talk about the passenger rail business, and that had come down quite a bit. It had kind of halved in the third quarter. So, if we talk about projections for the new year now, from the metro business, what is going to be the pickup in the business? Your sense of, and we're talking only execution and therefore revenue growth from the metro business and also from the passenger rail segment.
Sure. So we kind of expected the Q3 and the Q4 to be muted on the passenger front because the Pune Metro, which was the only project under execution, is now almost finished. And the Ahmedabad Metro, the Surat Metro, and the Vande Bharat all are in their design phase, which, as I mentioned at the beginning of my conversation, will start execution in the coming financial year. The Bangalore Metro as well, which we're doing in collaboration with CRRC, that the series execution or the series production starts picking up from Q1 of the coming financial as well. So the long story short is that in FY25-26, all the passenger projects that we have that have been in their design phase or in various phases leading up to the execution will actually start execution.
First half or second half, Pritish? This is going to be more back-ended, second half FY26, or will Q1, Q2 also start showing up, more traction?
So some projects, it will be across the year, ma'am. So Vande Bharat, for example, will be in March of 26. So absolute end of the next financial. Ahmedabad will be around the end of Q1 or beginning of Q2. Surat will be shortly thereafter. Bangalore actually starts from the beginning of Q1 itself. So it's all spread out a little bit, actually.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Pritish, and good speaking with you. That's Titagarh Rail with perspective on their business and, of course, a bit about the industry as well. That wheelsets issue, perhaps still a factor for now for them and other players as well, like Texmaco, etc. as well. But otherwise remain very, very positive. Let's talk